Welcome back to My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Today we are talking about mistakes. So before the break, we kind of went on a long tangent about a story. So we want to just go ahead and talk about some of the mistakes that we make. And one of the things that I want to mention is as a kid or as a young adult who's still very influenced by my parents and obviously was a kid and a teen growing up with my parents, it was really challenging to have something happen, make a mistake, and then have to own up to it later. I know that in my family, we have to own up to it. We don't let things just kind of brush under the rug. With you, Dad, you would always make us say what we did wrong, what we learned, what we could do next time. And I realized...
We'll take accountability for it.
Right. And I realized that a lot of families probably don't do that. And then it made me wonder how they get over things or how they get off of things or because I would go back to my room and be upset and beat myself up over a mistake, and then 20 minutes later come out and have a cleanup session with you or my mom or my sister, whoever, because that's just how we were raised. And it wasn't a choice either. You made us do that.
But most people aren't addressing it.
That's what I mean.
Most families aren't. There's not a leader, whether it's the mom or dad in them, that has decided, no, we're going to be a kind of family that we flush this out and clean it up and heal each other and forgive each other, so that we can start a new foundation tomorrow, or so that we can get off of it and rebuild our relationship from having had forgiveness and cleaning it up and moving forward. So what a lot of families do is, like you said, they brush it under the carpet or they ignore it. And what happens is when you do that and you brush on the carpet and ignore it for so long, what happens is now there's some resentment in there that you're holding on to. And that comes out at some point. And a lot of times it comes out in some kind of an explosion. People explode, people go off, people get divorced, people say, I've had it. People just keep tolerating and collecting evidence that, you're not honest, or I just keep collecting evidence that you don't, keep your word. And so we're not taught how to sit down and have a discussion and, get out some of the withholds that I've been holding on to. I need to get this off my chest. And so what I learned in my early 20s as a leadership development coach was in great teams, what they do is they learn how to start off their meeting with what's called a withhold. Let's get all of our withholds out so that I can get off of things, so it frees me up to be able to be in this kind of a relationship with you. And so all I was doing was introducing those concepts to our family so that we gave each other permission to get off of things, or to make amends, or to heal it, or to even confront each other. Hey, Dad, yesterday you said something to me that hurt my feelings, and I don't want to hold this on to me no more, and I wanted to confront you and let you know that wasn't cool. And then it's like, oh, wow, thank you for letting me know that. I don't want you to carry that with you for the next 50 years and then, have that interfere with your parenting as an adult, or, struggle with that kind of stuff. So it's more of a mindset and a come from that you have to develop, especially as a parent, to give your kids permission to make those mistakes and kind of clean that up. And I want to let you know that if I have ever in my life as your father have made you feel bad and wrong for making a mistake, I apologize, because I never ever want you to think that you're less than, or that I'm judging you for any mistakes you make. In fact, I want you to know that the more mistakes you make, the more proud I am of you, because you're showing me what a courageous warrior you are, and it's showing me that you're persevering and that you're giving yourself permission to be all that you can be. And I stand behind this axiom called, you never know how far you can go until you're willing to go too far. And you have permission to go too far in your life, and you can never do anything wrong in my eyes, because I've made so many more mistakes than you have. I have no right to put you down or to dogpile on you for ever making mistakes. And if I have done that, I apologize sincerely from the bottom of my heart. And I want you to redesign and recreate a new belief surrounded around the word mistake. I want you to transition mistake as an error and a judgment, and being disappointed in yourself. I want you to see them more, transition into more of a stepping stone for your success. Like the more mistakes I make, the closer I am to actually, creating the breakthrough that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I think if you grow up in that mindset, or you grow up with parents who who teach you that way instead of beating you up for it and making you feel bad and wrong, because when your kids go out in the world, they're going to learn for themselves that mistakes have negative connotations. They're going to learn from their teachers and from their peers and their friends. They're going to learn that. And they're going to learn the hard way. So as a parent, why do you want to be one of the people who's just going to, like you said, dogpile on it and make their mistake worse?
Yeah, they need somebody to balance that out, because they're already getting that from people in the world that are already insecure about themselves or want to bang on their chest and act like they're bad and like they don't ever make mistakes. And so your kids are going to get that. They don't need for their hero, for their kings and queens, your moms and dads, to partaking that also unconsciously. They need you to realize that I need to counterbalance that, and I need to make and create a safe space or an environment for my kids to make the mistakes, and I need to sympathize with them when they're already beating themselves up. You don't want to be beating them up too along with them. You need to counterbalance that, and you need to be there to pick them up and to hug them and to sit them on their lap and rub their back and be affectionate and say, hey, it's okay, I too make mistakes. And you got to help them make sense of that. And not have that experience of making a mistake be interpreted as they're bad and wrong, or they're not good enough. You never want them to see that their mistakes is a reflection of their worth, ever. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for teaching me the importance of going back and looking at my mistakes and owning up to them and taking accountability, because one, it's made our relationship better. It's made my relationships with my family better, with my friends and my personal relationships. I can go back and say, hey, I messed up, I'm sorry. And I can even go back, and if I know that maybe that other person, my friend or my boyfriend or whatever, did something wrong, I can at least take ownership for the part that I played, which teaches them, or what I've realized, teaches them to say, you know what? Thank you for acknowledging that. I messed up too, so it's not just you.
And I hope that learning, where you talked about that growing up in my home, or the home that me and your mom have created, that environment for you, that when you say that, hey, I didn't really have a choice, Dad, you made us do that. I hope that along with me so-called making you own up to things or doing that I was also being a better role model, because I don't want to be the type of person that says something but doesn't also display it either. I work really hard at what I'm saying. I'm also practicing it too, so that I'm not being a hypocrite either. So I hope that you're learning more from my modeling rather than what I was saying or what I was so-called making you guys do. But when you were younger, it was my job to create that context for you guys, to teach us all. At that time, I was learning too, but to teach us all how to really be an effective family in our communication, and kind of teach us all how to clean stuff off so that we have a clean slate. So now we're not carrying resentments from day to day to day, and living more consciously.
Well, now that you mention it, the modeling part is and not just a big part, but it's everything, because the reason why I was even able to learn how to own up to my mistakes, even when I thought maybe the issue wasn't even a majority of me, I was still able to see the part that I played. And that was only because you as a parent, or my mom, was able to come in and say, hey, I'm sorry for the part that I played, and just seeing somebody else take ownership for it made me realize, well, why? Like, I kind of had to stop and say, oh, well, why is she apologizing? Why is he apologizing? I'm the one who messed up. But because you guys had that I don't know, you were able to swallow your pride and just say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. I was able to. It was so much easier for me. It was like exactly what I needed for me to finally either come to grips, get off of it, or take accountability and finally realize, oh, okay, that was my fault.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. What I want to transition on to now is looking at the word mistake and see if we can create a new distinction around mistakes. So I kind of went on the internet and found, different definitions of mistakes, and I was trying to cherry pick the definitions that empower us. And so I chose actually some distinctions that really empower me, and hope that you can see the same value in it. The definition of mistake that I found that really empowered me is it's an error in our action, miscalculation, or attempts that fall short of the goal. Now, if you can train yourself to see a mistake as an error in your action, a miscalculation, or an attempt that falls short of the goal, to me, those are all neutral definitions. Now, what if we gave the word mistake a neutral definition and realized that everything after that, I'm making up a story about it. So every judgment that I put into it or I spill into giving it meaning is going to now influence how I interact with mistakes in my life or mistakes that my kids make. So the question is, can you train yourself to see a mistake as just an error in your action, a neutral, that it's a miscalculation or falling short in your attempt to reach a goal? And then from that starting place as neutral, then decide what kind of judgment you want to put on it. And then from that point, maybe you can possibly now see positive judgments rather than negative judgments. So everything you make up about mistakes after the neutral definition of it is a story that you've created, and those stories influence how you interact or react when it comes to mistakes, or you making mistakes or other people making them.
Yeah, I think in the sense of how people react, that right there is how I decide how I'm going to treat myself after I make the mistake. And when I say treat myself, I mean, am I going to beat myself up after? Am I going to brush it off as, oh, it's no big deal? Or am I going to say, you know what, I messed up, but I'm grateful that happened because now I know what not to do, or now I'm one step closer to figuring out, this problem easier or whatever. But 90% of the time, it's the way people react to my mistake where I decide how I'm going to interpret it.
Yeah. And a lot of times in the training room, working with teenagers for so many years in the capacity that I do, a lot of times I hear the kids and I hear their cries when they're vulnerably opening up and sharing their pain that they have for their parents that don't make it okay for them to be flawed or to make mistakes in the home. They feel like they're being punished and that they're paying a price and that they can't get out of that box. And you as a parent have to look at yourself and ask yourself, could I be unconsciously putting my son or daughter in their own box from their perspective because of the way that I speak about the mistake or handle the mistake? And that's it's heartbreaking to see kids share that they don't feel like it's okay to make mistakes in their home, like they feel like they have to be perfect. And what a pressure that puts on teenagers or any kind of kid to feel like they always have to be perfect and they can't make mistakes. Then you're wondering now as a parent why your son or daughter isn't out there going for jobs, why they're not out there, applying for things and going for interviews, and then why they don't have that drive anymore. Well, maybe it's because unconsciously you killed their spirit, you killed their drive, you killed anything that had to do with them giving themselves permission to thrive and persevere and keep moving forward. Is because at a certain point when they were 9 or 12 or 15 or maybe even over and over again, you keep sending that unconscious message that it's not okay to make mistakes in my home, because when you do, I'm gonna give you an earful. I'm just gonna let you know how you shouldn't be doing that and you should be doing this. And you don't realize as a parent a lot of times that part of our kids' dysfunctions that we played a part in it. And now I got to look as a parent from the responsible version of going, okay, how did I co-contribute to my son or daughter now being 23 years old, still playing video games on my couch or not having that drive to keep going for their dreams?
My biggest pet peeve, and I've probably said this before, and I'll say it 100 times, my biggest pet peeve is parents who get frustrated at their kids or their kids' dysfunctions or things their kids don't do or can't do or won't do, and it's because of them. It's because the way that they raised them. It's because of the things that they didn't teach them or the ways that they didn't show them how to be in the world. That's my biggest pet peeve, is that parents don't look at it as, maybe I did this, maybe I contributed to Johnny not wanting to leave the house, maybe I'm the reason why my kid is 30 years old and still lives in my basement.
I'm glad you brought that up. This is a main reason why I either lose clients or get clients that are really excited about having a coach. And then when I get to that section about teaching them how to take responsibility for it or be accountable for the dysfunction of their kid, a lot of parents don't want to hear that. They don't want to see that. It's for whatever reason, they want to have me coach their kid because they need me in their eyes to fix the kid. And a lot of times I tell them, there's nothing wrong with your son or daughter. They're perfect, whole, and complete exactly as they are. They just might have some behavior patterns or dysfunctions that are coming out of as a byproduct of your parenting. Parents don't want to hear that. We want to avoid that by all costs, by all means. Don't ever tell me that. In fact, probably there are people not even listening or changing the channel right now because they don't want to be held accountable for their son or daughter's results, or they don't even want to be a portion of it. They want to be the victim and go, no, she's learned how to be like that on her own. No, she grew up in your home. All this dysfunction happened under your watch. And you have to be willing to look at that if you want to cause the kind of change that you're looking for. A lot of parents, sometimes at seminars, some are really excited. They come up to me, hey, man, I really needed to hear that. Thank you for saying that to me because no one has ever really said it the way you did. And then I have others that, don't come up to me. They just make me bad and wrong because it's not what they want to hear. But to me, that's the distinction of really being the conscious parent, being the extraordinary parent is finally having a moment to ask yourself, how do I contribute to my son or daughter's dysfunctions? How am I being a part of that? What have I done? Have I enabled them? Have I made it too easy for them? Have I given them so much more than what they've earned or taught them how to earn? You have to really look at that, and that's a powerful, it's a tough glance, but I think it's a powerful one if you have the courage to really look at yourself.
Well, for me as a conscious young adult, I can't even imagine, and I wonder how those parents who say, "Oh no, they didn't learn that from me, or they didn't get that from me," how they can say that, because I know and and I'm sure everybody who's listening, because they're the type of people that are listening to us. I'm sure everybody knows that. Obviously, yes, they did learn it from you. So it's a whole other thing I don't want to get into and
that's your
even
pet peeve,
try to learn. But oh my gosh, it bugs me so much. And then when I hear your stories, your war stories about the parents who, I lost another client today because they didn't want to hear about how they are the reason that their son still lives at home and he's 40, and I'm just like, I just want to like shake it into their brains, like, and open up those doors for them. But
everyone's on their own journey, and everyone has to be willing to see that. And I've also had some very courageous clients that have started with me, let's say 10 years ago, and didn't want to see it then, but then they come back and go, wow, I remember, 10 years ago you told me this, and now I see it, and now I want to be coached. And so, it's just part of the business. Part of me being a coach is having the courage and the audacity and the confidence and the assurance of myself, and not wanting to be liked by them, to be able to tell them some of the tough feedback that they need to hear to have that wake-up call, to cause that shift, to start creating the results. It's just part of being a coach. Is sometimes I got to be the bad guy and say it to you, but I'm very compassionate about that. I'm not a jerk, and I'm not, I don't hammer you. I'm going to come in and kind of put my arm around you and go, hey buddy, this is kind of how I see it, or and so I try to land that because I know how challenging it can be as a parent to really hear that. And so when I deliver that message, I'm very compassionate and very caring when I land that message. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, to be willing to look at yourself and go, yeah, I do play a part there. And if I really look at myself, I can see that some of my own fears and insecurities get in the way, and I am contributing to some of my kids' dysfunctions. But when people say that and they go there, I get excited. I'm like a little kid. I'm giddy for them. I'm like, man, I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you that you're willing to say that. That's step one, right? That's the first step.
Well, we had to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Today we are talking about mistakes. Now, earlier in the show, we were mostly talking about parents letting their kids make mistakes, but I want to kind of talk about kids letting their parents make mistakes, because obviously parents make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and as a parent, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we expect you to make mistakes. When I was a kid and my mom and dad made a mistake, I never remember being mad or angry, like, oh, I can't believe you did this. You're so, this and that. I don't ever really remember, being upset over stuff like that. Maybe because as a kid, I knew I was making mistakes, and I don't know if parents realize that or notice, but if you don't let your kids make mistakes and you give them a hard time about making mistakes and then you make a mistake, you can't expect your kids to understand that you make mistakes if you're not letting them make mistakes.
Yeah, and I think that you're sending, a message that's clouded by what they're seeing, and they can easily see you as being a hypocrite because what you're saying to them and the message that you unconsciously are delivering to them is that it's not okay to make mistakes, but yet they're watching you. In fact, your kids are watching you better than you're watching yourself. They're watching every move. They're watching every story that you make up or every justification or every excuse. They're watching you intently, and they're trying to figure out do I trust my mom and dad? Are they authentic? Are they honest? Do they mean what they say and say what they mean? Are they walking their talk? Your kids they already know already. And so if you're wondering why your kids don't listen to you or you have lost the power of influence for them, it's because they've already made up a story in their mind based on their interaction with you for the last 15 years or 18 years that you're a liar or you're not consistent or you're a hypocrite. And if you're willing to look at that, you got to go back and clean that up. You got to go back, own up to it, apologize, clean it up, and then start fresh and start rebuilding a new relationship with them. I remember as a kid watching my mom and dad, just interacting. I also felt like it was okay for them to make a mistake because I had compassion for them, and I figured, okay, you're just doing the best you can. What I couldn't wrap my mind around is them not being honest enough to say, hey, son, I made a mistake. And I think that's what your kids, and because I hear their cries in the training room, that's what they want from you, is to just be honest, just own up. And I tell my clients, the clients that are parents, I tell them the best gift you can give your kids is letting them know that you made a mistake. Not only are they excited and jumping for joy because you finally let them in and you're able to be vulnerable enough to let them see you own up to making a mistake, but now they know you're human. And that's what inspires your kids, is when you're willing to just be honest and own up like that, you can have them eating out of your palm. But a lot of parents, their egos won't let them reveal that. They won't own up to that. And so that's kind of disheartening. And it's heartbreaking to see kids that really want their parents to live an honest, authentic life.
It's funny because I think parents think that they need to be this, perfect model and figure and, can't ever say they made a mistake because they want their kids to think that they're, almighty, powerful, and great. But those aren't the things that we think are almighty, powerful, and great. Like you said, the things that we need, like you owning up to your mistakes, you
keeping your word,
letting us be open, free, whoever we are, not judging us, all those great things that obviously kids need. All of those things are the powerful things to us. All of those things are, our parents being authentic and doing what they say they're going to do. And, so anyways.
And let me preface it with this. Even though that's what they really want from you, a lot of them don't know it. And that's the cool thing about sometimes the teen training. Kids will have a clarity and go, oh my God, now I know. Like, because a lot of times I'll speak certain words about things and they'll go, that's how I feel about my mom. But I didn't know how to say it like that. A lot of times your kids don't know how to articulate what they really feel or what they're really needing from you until somebody teaches them or shows them a new way. When they see a new way, they're like, oh, that's what I've been yearning for, but I didn't really know how to make sense of it like that.
Yeah, and if you send your kids to these kinds of trainings, you need to be doing this work too, because when they come home and they finally know what it is that's been missing or what they need now, they're going to be expecting that from you, or they're going to be wanting that from you.
Don't say that. People won't send kids to my training anymore.
But speaking of your training, it's not too late to sign up. It's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. A very powerful 2-day training for teens, and it's going to be where?
At SEVI Charter School in Castaic.
And then if you need any information or how to get on signed on, you can either give you a call.
Yeah, 661-505-5021, or go to my website, alexurbina.com.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here every Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.